Aloha, everybody. Welcome to today's November 22nd, 2021 regular board meeting for the Board of Water Supply. My name is Brian Andaya, and before we forget, I want to wish all of you, on behalf of the board, a happy Thanksgiving. I know at the end sometimes we have executive session, which we do today, and we're not able to do that, but we want to do that at this point. To everyone in the department, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's almost the end of the year with November already. So I'd like to take a moment to take roll call of board members. When I say your name, please say aye. Vice Chair Kapuas Pro.
Aye.
Board Member Ray Soon.
Aye.
Board Member Naalehu Anthony.
Aye.
And Board Member Jay Butai.
Aye.
All right. Board Member Max Sword is not able to join us today, and Member Roger Babcock will be joining us a little later. Those of you who are calling in or on video conferencing in, please don't forget to mute your mic when you're not speaking. If you have a question or comment, go ahead and unmute and identify yourself, and you can proceed. In the room with us today is Manager Ernie Lau. And of course, I do have Member Ray Soon with us, and also Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achu. Joining us on WebEx to monitor public testimony is Stephen Nordstrom, Information Specialist 2 from our Communications Office. And also joining us by WebEx is our attorneys, both from City and County Corporation Counsel Department, Jessica Wong and Jeff Lau. All right.
Chair Roger just joined us.
Oh, okay. Chair recognizes Member Roger Babcock.
Good afternoon, thanks.
Thank you, Roger. All right. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, please use the WebEx chat to direct a message to our support team. Their names are listed in a message to all WebEx participants. To open the chat window, please click or tap on the text bubble icon on the right side of the WebEx toolbar. All right. I am going to skip with the emergency proclamations and everything else. We are continuing as we have been discussing to abide by them and as well as to accommodate anyone who would like to participate in today's meeting. Testimony was available today by written testimony. You could mail your written testimony. You could also testify online or submit testimony online. Unfortunately, in-person testimony is still not being accepted because of the COVID-19 restrictions. However, we are currently accepting, up until the time of today's meeting, telephone testimony. And it will be accepted at the meeting at the number 808-748-6040. Again, 808-748-6040. When prompted, you can call, you will be placed on hold, and we will open up the line one by one to allow you to testify. And you will be given further directions at that time. Meeting materials are accessible today at www.boardofwatersupply.com/boardmeetings. You can also view via live streaming this meeting on the BWS website. That's www.boardofwatersupply.com/live. All right, today we have one item on our agenda requiring board action. And this is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 25th, 2021. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Member Babcock and seconded by Vice Chair Sproat. Is there any discussion on the minutes that have been circulated or any corrections or amendments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, let the record reflect that we have unanimous adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 25th, 2020. We will now move into our items for information. First is the Capital Improvement Program Quarterly Update, or CIP Quarterly Update. Chair recognizes Mr. Jason Takaki.
Good afternoon, everyone. Aloha, Chair Andaya and board members. This is the quarterly report on the CIP for all divisions for the quarter ending September 30th, 2021. In the first quarter of FY22, 3 contracts were awarded, totaling just under $800,000. There were no contract completions reported in the first quarter, and the details are on the second sheet. So the next slide, please. And then let's go on to the graph, which is the next slide. And so this is to put everything in perspective. This graph, which you've seen before, has been updated to include the current fiscal year, although the FY22 first quarter is of course just a point, and it's under the same point actually that the FY18 and last year FY21 began on at 1%. Over the last 7 years, which are shown there, the percent budget execution in the first quarter of the fiscal year has averaged 2%. And it is, as we've discussed before, traditionally slow as the staff is focused on getting their prior year contracts executed and underway. And that is my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Members, do you have any questions? I have a question. Mr. Takaki, have you seen any trend year over year from, let's say just looking at the graph here, fiscal year 16 until current, in terms of being able to execute the budget?
Not really. As you can see from the graph, the first quarter is very much unchanged year to year. And it's, as I said, the staff is focused on getting their fourth quarter projects completed, executed, and underway. And so it's a cyclic thing. Not much has been changed, although I think if there's been any significant change, it's been with our adoption of the IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts that allow us to cut work orders, so essentially small contracts, in the first quarter without having to go out to bid.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of when we talk about budget execution, does that mean that is that the awarded or encumbered amounts?
These are encumbered amounts.
Yeah. And as far as completion goes, we would look to, I guess not this line graph, but the table that's included in the report.
That's right. That's the ongoing projects in the bottom left-hand corner.
And so in terms of the completed projects, which would be in the middle table,
Right.
these would reflect contracts that were completed in the respective quarters noted.
That's right.
Good. So in the end, no matter, at this point, as you mentioned, there has not been any completions, but as we go through the year, we should start to see some completions in these projects.
Yes, we should see completions. Yeah, we actually should see completions every quarter.
Okay, and then we should have, at the end of the year, the total completed matching the total awarded, or is there carryover from previous years?
No, the projects are not a one-year term. Are in fact, that's very rare. Our projects are of the size that they're multi-year.
I
So
see.
they're overlapping.
There could be previous year projects.
Okay, I understand. So this is where you would then go to the third table on the ongoing projects, and you would see the number of design projects outstanding and then the amounts.
That's right.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing progress in this area.
Okay, thank
Go
you.
ahead, Member Sue.
Jason, if you look at the ongoing projects, construction projects, 372 million, this is, I'm assuming from last year. Is it like double the size of the projected projects to be let this year? Yeah, it is, right? 372 versus 151.
Right. Yeah, the project budget is shown in the top right. And so yeah, it's a revolving door actually. So
No,
projects go in and projects come out.
I understand. Are you, I guess I'm looking for what are the major impediments to us getting projects finished? If you were to step back and say, you know, it's all about us not having enough people to manage projects, or what are the major impediments for us not getting projects completed more in a shorter time?
Yes. Well, of course, we struggle with having sufficient staff to be able to process all of the paperwork for these projects, particularly, and this is one reason that the completions are slowed, is that there's the end of the project is a lot of paperwork. And yes, there we would benefit from additional staff. Our projects are not simple, they're not small, and so they don't lend themselves to quick resolution.
You know, I would follow up with that, and I would ask maybe is there a way we can better track the aging? Is there sort of like an aging report that we could perhaps that could be generated? So of the, for example, the 372 million in ongoing construction projects, if I understand this report correctly, they could be from last fiscal year, but they also could be from previous fiscal years.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, particularly as you know, as the CIP grows and the size of the projects grow, the contract durations also extend. So, and aging, I'm not sure how much that would tell you because the contracts are of different durations.
I guess what my concern would be, I just don't want these projects. I mean, we are budgeting, we're increasing the CIP budget, growing the budget. I would hate for us to, it's one thing to have it encumbered, which is great to have it encumbered, but then to have it kind of languish and just remain outstanding without any, I guess, you know, progress is what I'm looking at.
I think I hope what Chair is looking for is the same thing I'm looking for, and that is, maybe not aging report, because like you say, they may be right on schedule, they just take a long time. I guess what we're looking for is how many projects are behind and how far behind are they? Can you give us a report that gives us an indication of whether I guess we're looking for whether we're having problems finishing a project?
Yeah, the problems finishing a job could be not only, oversight of the project, but also
Sure.
the nature of the work.
Sure.
But maybe members soon, what we could look at is to do some statistical analysis. Project schedule, if we say it's 600 days, the projects that we say it's 600 days, how many projects we actually finish within the contract period, right? The initial contract period estimate for the project. How many projects take longer, what degree of length, and maybe just kind of at a summary level, provide some performance metrics. Is that kind of what you're?
That's exactly. I
Yeah,
think
and that's what I mean
I
by
think so.
aging report.
Okay.
It's not really aging, but
Yeah,
exactly what you
just to see how we're performing, and like I said earlier, there could be very good reasons why projects take longer, but just to see how we're doing
Right.
with our capital program.
Right, I don't think any of us is pointing fingers. I think all of us just want to understand. I mean, you have 168 projects in construction. You have 248 in design, and those are just old projects. That doesn't even count what we're throwing on the current table
fiscal
this
year.
year.
Yeah, so those include the FY21 jobs.
I understand, and many of which were let in the fourth quarter, so no way.
Right. So, but
I understand.
I think I understand what you're looking for. I'll work with Jason to see what kind of do some analysis and see what kind of report we can generate to provide with these quarterly updates.
yeah. Thank you, manager. Thank you, Mr. Takaki. Yeah, we just don't want things to snowball and everything as we ramp up the CIP projects, and then everything gets backed up. We just
We're
make sure.
very cognizant of that point, because if we cannot get the projects executed as much as we can on time, then the amount of effort that's imposed on our staff increases. So we want to try to get to a project completion. But there's like Jason said, sometimes the completion requires turning in all the documents necessary from the contractor, and sometimes you're waiting for those. But let's work on some stats for the board on how our projects are doing.
And an indication of what the major problems are and what we can maybe do to help.
Right now, today we had Jason and I sat down with the General Contractors Association at a working group meeting. And I think that'll be an important way to try to solve problems and improve the process.
Okay.
So continue dialogue with the construction industry on our execution of projects. Some of the challenges, we are putting out more jobs, and to reduce the number of jobs, that we are bundling projects, smaller jobs together, so they create larger jobs, which also take longer to do and are challenging to manage. But let's work on something for the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're all here to work together. So if there's anything we can do from our level to help out the department, but Mr. Takaki's department, please let us know.
Yeah, it's not only capital projects; it's our whole BWS. So, well, thank you for the offer and the support.
Members, any further questions on this matter? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Takaki, for the report. We'll move to the next item.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is the financial update for the quarter ended September 30th, 2021. Chair recognizes Mr. Joe Cooper.
Hi, Chair Andaya, board members. This is the financial performance report for the first quarter, basically July through September. Next slide, please. So our actual revenue was $68.5 million, which is incredible. I mean, all of these numbers today are really incredibly close to our budget, which is good and bad things. But yeah, our actual revenue was basically $100,000 over our budgeted revenue. Also, I guess, the good news is also it was $2.5 million over what it was first quarter last year. Our operating costs were under budget by less than 1%, or $400,000 at $54.3 million. Then our net revenue is over budget of $600,000. So of our net revenue is $14.3 million versus the 13.7 which was budgeted. So in summary, like I said, we're running really close to budget on both our expenses and revenue. Just as a reminder, I'm going through the operating budget. Jason has just presented the capital improvement budget. Those are, somewhat separate. This net revenue, our net revenue actually goes to support our capital improvement program. Next slide, please. This is a breakdown of some of the major cost drivers of our budgets. Our personnel is $11 million, which is under budget by about 18% or 2%, and that's due to vacancies or our slowness in filling vacancies. Our supplies, materials, and services is $20 million, which is right on budget. And again, this is about $3 million over what it was last year. Our equipment budget is really minuscule. I think we budgeted $200,000, and I think there was about $1,000 that was spent, or $5,000, but it was not significant. Our debt service is on budget at $8 million as we continue to fund our capital improvement program. Our debt service is rising. It was about $6.5 million last year, and our utilities is on budget at $6 million. Next slide, please. This is looking at the different costs. This is provided by the ESO and Budget Office, showing a further breakdown of the different variances by capital projects or by division. Next slide, please. This slide looks at the different categories by total cost, total operating costs. Our largest operating cost section is material, supplies, and services, which comprise about 37% of all our operating costs, or just over $20 million. That's followed by our fixed charges, which constitutes 28% or $15 million. Our fixed charges are about $3.5 million more than they were last year. This is primarily due to increase in employee benefits, both in retirement and in healthcare, and also utilities is up about $900,000. Personnel services is our next largest category at 20% or $10 million. And then finally, debt service comprises about 15% of our operating budget at just over $8 million. As I mentioned earlier, our debt service is rising as we support the CIP program. We're also actively pursuing other financing instruments to help manage and lower our financing costs. One of these that we're looking into with a lot of concern is a WIFIA loan, which is a federal loan from the government, which allows a lot of flexibility in financing. Also, we're watching the developments in Washington closely to see what grants the infrastructure program might actually filter down to the water sector in Hawaii. Next slide, please. This compares these operating costs to budget. And you can again see that personnel cost is under the first column to the left is under budget. Materials and supplies is material supplies, debt service, and equipment are basically on budget, and fixed cost is just over budget by about 12%. Next slide, please. And so this breaks those same our operating costs down by month. And year to date, our operating costs, which is a line graph going up to from the left to the right, is operating costs are about 0.99% below budget. The July variance, which is on the left-hand side, is primarily due to some professional service contracts that were issued early in the fiscal year. Next slide, please. And finally, we have our revenue. As I mentioned before, we're running really close to our budget on revenue. We're 1% over budget, or about, $100,000. And then this shows the breakdown of the monthly revenue. Some of the variations in August and September is simply timing issues regarding when the bills go out and when the meters are read. So that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions or comments.
Members, any questions? Well, hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Cooper, for the report.
Okay, thank you, Chair Andaya.
All right, moving to the next item. Item number 3 is the status update of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Mr. Barry Usagawa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. For October, there are 4 index wells in low groundwater condition. Waialua and Pearl City are in caution status. Kaimuki and Honolulu are in alert. The monthly production for October is 144 million gallons per day, which is higher than the previous year at the same time this year, same time last year, and the 5-year monthly average. The rainfall index for October was all below normal, 74% of normal, and the 5-month moving average also at 79%. The Hawaii Drought Monitor is still showing abnormally dry conditions to moderately dry conditions in leeward, and severe drought conditions from Ewa Beach to Makaha. The National Weather Service is forecasting below normal precipitation for the rest of November, but is predicting that because of the La Nina conditions are present, that the transition from drier to conditions in autumn to wetter conditions this winter is expected, and so is therefore forecasting an above normal precipitation for December through spring of 2022. So that's a good condition where we'll have our aquifers being recharged for the upcoming summer months. So most monitoring wells are exhibiting stable to slightly decreasing levels because of the extended dry season through November. But we expect above normal rainfall for the winter season. That's my report, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Members, any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Usagawa, for the report. All right, moving on to the next item here is item number 4, water main repair report for October 2021 rather. Chair recognizes Mr. Jason Nikaido.
Hey, good afternoon, Chair Andaya and board members. This is the water main repair report for October 2021. That last month, there were 45 main breaks, giving us a total of 136 for the fiscal year. The average repair duration for pipes 4 to 12 inches in diameter was approximately 12 hours. And the leak detection team surveyed 12 miles of pipeline and found 50 leaks, 35 of which were coupling leaks. That concludes the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Members, any questions?
Yeah, I got a quick question, Chair. Jason,
Yes.
so how much of the leak detection team is using that, the satellite, the chlorine detection? Or this is all, the 12 miles, that's all the on the ground work, is that right? Or
It is the 12 miles is basically the area identified through the satellite imagery, so the satellite analysis. So it's basically the point of interest, what they call a point of interest, and it's about 300 feet in diameter. So that area is considered what we survey.
Great, thanks.
Members, any more questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Nikaido.
Thank you.
All right, next item, moving right along here is our schedule of monthly board meetings for calendar year 2022. And members, if you look as part of your board packet, a schedule was sent out. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. Were there any questions or comments at this time? Okay, if not, I'll just kind of highlight from what I can just see here. So for November, and it's pretty much the last Monday of every month. May, we've got Memorial Day, so I think that was adjusted a week earlier, I believe. I have my calendar in front of me. And then for November, so this meeting here is Thanksgiving week. It looks like next year it's going to be the week after. And then in December, we've got a pretty earlier meeting because people tend to.
Joy, can you move the?
The December 12th date is, tends to be a little early because people tend to go out of town during the holidays. But other than that, any questions or comments? If not, please let myself, Manager Lau, or our secretary know if you have any known conflicts.
Yeah, please do. Just let Joy know, the board secretary. Thank you.
All right. This brings us to the end of our regular agenda. May I have a motion to move into executive session?
I move to go into executive session.
I second, Jig.
Thank you. Moved by Member Soon, second by Member Kutai, for us to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, unanimous. We are going into executive session.